our performance task. Now, this goes in as a summative grade, just like our labs and our quizzes and our tests, and it's worth 40 points. Before I get into the performance task, I first want to say we did a really nice job on our unit test. So, great job for all of you who took the time to study and took it seriously and took your time on it. It shows off in your grade. I know a lot of you want to get feedback from your labs. I have not had a chance to look at those yet, but I will, and we will get those back when I return on Tuesday. So if we go into Schoology, you should be able to open this document just how we opened up our lab. Make sure we all do this now. You can pause the video and come back when we're all ready. All right, we all should be ready. We can see the title of this is called Analyzing a Disease Outbreak. Okay, today and on all of our performance tasks, you're able to work in groups of 2 or 3. And I'm kind of going to go over this and clarify some of the requirements and your task throughout 2 days. You have 2 days to complete this performance task and get it in. It is due by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday night. So your job, it says you and your team are going to work, you work for the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and you've been hired to investigate various signs of an outbreak in the town of Greenfield, Texas. You have 2 days to do the following. So everything in yellow is things that should be completed today, day 1. You need to define what the problem is and then conduct some research. On Thursday, what you need to do is in green, day 2, you're going to create a model that illustrates and clearly defines the problem, and you're going to come up with some solutions and analyze the pros and cons of them. In purple, all of this is going to be compiled. All of your steps from 1 through 4 are going to be compiled into a format that you're going to present to the mayor of this town. So your definition of the problem, the research that you did, the model that you make, and the solutions all have to be put into a format that you're eventually going to show the mayor. Again, your role is that you're the Center of Disease Control coming in to investigate this. You're probably going to make a Google Slides. So as you work through defining the problem and conducting the research, you can start a Google Slides right from the beginning and start to put these things in there. Now, if you rather make maybe a brochure for the mayor or something else, you have that choice. It says any format, but most of you will choose probably to do Google Slides. So, our background information. Greenfield is a small town in Texas. It has seen a recent outbreak of sickness, including unexpected high fevers. That's the first thing that was seen as high fevers. All symptoms that have been reported are shown in the data table. The town lacks medical expertise and labs to properly diagnose this medical cause of the high fevers. The residents need information from you for what is causing the outbreak, why the symptoms are occurring, and how further cases can be prevented. The only other thing that seems to be out of place in Greenfield is a large flea population. Okay. What information can you provide to the residents of Greenfield? So you're going to put together what you find in some type of format to the mayor. So fever is what we find first. There's 25 people affected with fever, but there's also some other different symptoms here that you should take into consideration. Notice, not on this chart, is that large flea population. That's something that's sticking out that we also need to investigate. So before you do any research, you and your team is going to define your problem. So with your team, you're going to write a statement, one nice, concise, scientific statement that outlines the problem. It's not a question, it's a statement. And specifically, you want to come up with these questions addressed in your statement. What do you need to do for this task? What are the symptoms that the town's experiencing? What are most prevalent symptoms? What are secondary symptoms? And what's unusual about Greenfield? So you're going to put together a statement, maybe 2 sentences, that outlines what the problem is, what you're going to investigate. Again, that's going to be in your Google Slides or whatever you choose to do. Then today, on day 1, you're going to conduct research. With your team, you're going to gather all necessary information that is most likely causing this disease. You should come up with today what you have pinpointed as the cause of disease. I've linked in the Center for Disease Control website, the NIH government website, and the World Health Organization website. You can use other resources. Make sure you're citing these resources. Now, for this, to be clear, you all can share one format. So if you choose to go do a Google Slides, if I'm working with Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Miller, we could all be shared on one document that we're all working on. However, when we submit this, we all need to submit it. So make sure we all have a copy of it. On day 2, we're going to develop a model. Now, models can be a flow chart. Remember, we studied the different types of models: conceptual, physical, mathematical. You need to come up with how you're going to draw this out and show how the problem is occurring. Specifically, how the disease is transmitted, how the body systems work to combat the infection. So why are we seeing a fever? Why all the symptoms are occurring, and then how homeostasis is involved. Your model should show all of that. Your solution, you should probably present 2 solutions for how we can avoid further outbreaks and analyze what's the benefit of that and maybe what's the consequence of using that solution. And then in this 5, communicate. This is presenting your findings. You're not actually going to sit down and stand in front of the class and present this, but it's going to have to be in some format where the mayor could take a look at this and say, I can communicate what you have found as experts to my residents. Most importantly, down here, your scoring rubric. This is how you get your points, summative points. Do you have a problem statement clearly defined? Do you have a model that accurately represents how the disease is transmuted and the body's response? Do you have relevant images and data that support the solution? So this is your research. And lastly, have you recommended and do you clearly communicate the solutions? This will be turned in again on Thursday by 11:59. Even though we're working in teams, we can have the same document submitted as our team members because we're working together. And if you have questions, please let me know. Good luck, and I'll see you in a week.